Slowly. Okay, we are live.
Hi everybody, my name is Amber Hug and I'm a National Education Manager for Schwarzkopf Profession. And today I'm going to be your Vibrance Guru. What is Vibrance? Vibrance is our Demi permanent hair color line. And we have a Demi dominance happening right now, and I want to answer any questions that you may have, whether those questions are about our IGORA Vibrance or about Demi permanent hair color in general, or even if you have a question about anything else within the range. I'm here today to answer any of your questions. So today I want you to ask me anything. And again, focus is on Vibrance, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So wherever you're watching from, whether it's from Instagram or YouTube, or whether you're watching from our TikTok, type in any comments, any questions that you have that you want me to answer here. Today we'll probably start by answering some questions because over the weekend there was definitely some questions got thrown into our Instagram chat, and so we'll probably start with those. But what I would love is for you to start typing your questions in because we want to hear from you. So ask me anything that you've been dying to ask about any part of the brand, again, whether that's Vibrance or whether that's about IGORA VIBRANCE, or if you just want to know about our numbering system or any of our lighteners, I'm here to help you. I'm your Demi permanent guru for today. So let's start with some questions that maybe have been put into our live over the weekend. We asked you guys to give us some questions. So the first one I want to ask you is, my biggest struggle is toning for levels 9, 10, straight blue or red or green to get that out of the hair. Now at a level 9 or a level 10, if you're straight up red or straight up green, that's a very faded version. And a lot of times that green or that red could be something where maybe you had a fashion color on it before and that faded out to that red or that green. So I always say your biggest help is going to be your color circle. So your color circle is something that will show you what you need to use. So the color circle, if I'm seeing red, for instance, I need to use something that has a green. In our color line, green is called matte. It's a -3. So anything that has a -3 in it is a green. If we don't have anything at a level 9 or a level 10 that has that -3 in it, what else could you do? Well, we have neutralizers. 0-33 is our neutralizer, which is straight up green that you can add into any hair color. If you're at a level 9 or a level 10, you want to make sure to only add up to 5% of your formula. You don't want to add much, just a pinch. But this color circle here is going to be your biggest help. I can come across here, if I am seeing orange, I'm going to come across the color circle. If I'm seeing orange, I need to have blue in whatever I'm formulating. So a -2 in our range is called ash, and it is a blue. So the biggest reason people cannot get neutralization on a level 9, level 10 is probably because it's not quite a level 9 or a level 10. So we have a lot of different shades in Vibrance that can be intermixed with our toners. So sometimes maybe I need something other than a level 9 or 10. Maybe I need something that is a level 8. So in our book, we have 8-19, which is a level 8, and that's a Cendré Violet. This is great for that orangey tone. It's going to get rid of that yellow-orange and also any additional yellow. We have 8-11, our level 8 Cendré Extra. This is going to help to neutralize out any of that orange that you're going to see. So any of these can be intermixed with our toners, which are on the last page. So I can create a custom toner that's going to work to get out red or orange. So again, the reason you probably aren't getting neutralization is you're probably not at a level 9, 10. You might think you're seeing a level 9, 10, but maybe it's a level 8 and I need to formulate a little bit darker in order to get that neutralization. So I see we got a question in here from Lisa Lynch. Is IGORA Vibrance a combination of direct dyes and additive pigments, I think is what you're saying. So what you're asking, is it a combination of direct and indirect dyes? And the answer to that question is yes, it is a combination. If you get a tube of our IGORA Vibrance, when you get it out of the bottle, sometimes when you pour it out, it already has color to it. And the reason that it would have color to it already is because that is the direct dyes that I'm seeing from that color formula. But then there's other dyes within this that are indirect dyes, which means that I need to have something to activate that dye molecule. So a direct dye, for anyone that doesn't know, is something that sits on the outside of the hair strand. So if I have a direct dye, that's going to be like a temporary color or a semi-permanent color. So in our range, we have Chroma ID. That this is a direct dye. This does not get mixed with an activator. We do not need to mix anything with it for that dye molecule. It's going to just sit on the outside of that hair cuticle. When I have Vibrance, this is a combination of direct and indirect dyes. So because this is an alkaline demi-permanent, it's going to swell the outer cuticle layer just enough to allow those indirect dyes to go underneath that cuticle layer and then develop inside the hair strand. Therefore, some of my pigments are going in and coloring from the inside, and some are sitting on the outside. So yes, Lisa, it is a combination of direct and indirect dyes and non-oxidative dyes. So excellent question. Again, if you're just joining us, type in any questions that you have, whether you're joining us from YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, just type in the comments any questions that you have. In the meantime, let's pull up another question that was put up over the weekend. So we're gonna have, I've got Jerome here helping me out. He's gonna pop up another question that we had from over the weekend. This question is the longevity determined by the amount of time it's processed? And that's a tricky question because yes, but no. So yes is the answer that we're looking for here. So the longer I leave a toner on, the longer that toner is going to last. We've all heard of the flash toner that I put it on and in 5 minutes or less, it has done its job and I can take it off. Well, funny you should ask. Every color brand recommends 20 minutes for your toner. Every color brand, no matter what brand you're using, for the most longevity with a toner, you need the full 20 minutes. So it's the same with Vibrance. If I leave something on for only 5 minutes, there is a chance I may not get as much longevity as if I leave it on for the full 20 minutes. So absolutely, the longer you leave it on, the longer it's going to last. In general, if I'm just toning highlights at the shampoo bowl, a lot of times I may only leave that on for 5 to 10 minutes at the shampoo bowl, and I'm still getting that toning, but I'm also diluting that toner with water, and also the longevity may not be as long. If I'm doing a full bleaching tone shade, that's when I definitely want to make sure that that's going to last, because those are the clients who are going to complain the most if their toner fades. So I definitely, when it comes to a bleaching tone, blow dry to 80% first, then apply your toner and let that process for the full 20 minutes so you get the full longevity. And with Vibrance, if it's a color that anywhere from a level 1 to a level 9, you will get up to 25 shampoos of longevity. Our toners that are the 9.5 series, which are our pastel toners, those are going to last up to 12 shampoos, brain not working. If you're doing a level 10 toner, that's even more sheer. The more sheer it is, the less it's going to last. So it's up to 6 shampoos with the level 10 toners. So the more you can add in a deeper shade to your toner, the more longevity that you'll get. Now, Lisa, you have another question. You recently switched over from shades and absolutely love the color pigmentation. Thank you so much. Awesome. If any of you have switched over from one line to another, what you may want to keep in mind is that shades is an amazing color line for toning, but that's all it's going to do. It's going to tone and refresh. Vibrance has multiple jobs because Vibrance can be mixed with my 6 volume to act like a toner, or it can be mixed with a 13 volume that can give me gray blending as well. So the beauty of having an alkaline based color line, which is what Vibrance is I have more tools. If we think about it, in some color lines, I have to have a certain brand for toning. I have another brand for gray blending. That's 2 different demi-permanent lines. Nobody wants 2 different demi-permanent lines. That's a lot of room in your back bar. So with Vibrance, it's just 1 bottle and different activators to do different jobs. So there are 3 different activators in the range. One activator is 6 volume gel. That's going to look like this lighter pink. The 6 volume gel is going to have that jelly consistency that allows me to do bottle application. And it's not super liquidy, so it's not going to drip all over my client's face. So this is what I use when I'm trying to do all over toning, if I want to refresh mid-lengths and ends, and I want to do a bottle application. When I'm looking for more control, I do have a 6-volume lotion. Oops, something fell. I have a 6-volume lotion. Now you might have noticed these two bottles look different. They're still going to be the same thing. We did have a shift in the type of bottle that we're using, which you guys should be happy about, because with the new bottle, we have this cap that flips up, and in the old bottle, we have to twist off the cap. So this one's just a little bit easier to use, but they are the same thing. 6-volume lotion is going to be great for when I want to do shadow routine or low lighting on my blondes, or I just want to do a bold brush application. 6-volume is not going to give me lift. 6-volume is meant for just deposit. If I use 13-volume, that's when I do have the chance of shifting the base just slightly, which means giving a half to a full level of lift on that naturally pigmented hair. But the benefit of the 13-volume is I can get up to 70% white blended with 13-volume. That's right, you heard me, 70% white blending. I have actually seen with my eyes on fine hair 100% white coverage with our 13-volume, but we can't claim that because we have to go across the board. But if you have somebody with fine hair and you're looking for gray coverage, try Vibrance. Use any of our shades in the Vibrance range. Anything that's not a -00 will get you up to 50% white blending. In order to get that up to 70% white blending, you need to add a shade like 7-00, for instance, which is level 7 natural extra, into your formula to achieve that 100% gray coverage. But that's your biggest difference between a demi-permanent that's acidic based and a demi-permanent that is alkaline based. Acidic base is just going to deposit. I can only do toning or refreshing. If I'm looking for gray blending, I don't have that. With Vibrance, it's alkaline based, so I have the ability to still do the toning and refreshing. But by using my 13-volume, I can get that up to 70% white blending, which is amazing.
Some questions from Instagram.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have some questions here from Instagram. All right, so which is the best shade in the brown family? Well, that's going to be a personal question, right? So what is my favorite shade in the brown family? I'm going to tell you one thing that I absolutely love in the browns is the -63 series. If you don't know our numbers yet, -63 is a chocolate matte. Again, matte is a green color direction. So that is going to be that beautiful chocolate shade, but reflects no red. So if you're looking for a deep, rich chocolate shade that you don't see any red, that's the -63 series. Another one of my favorites is the -16. -1 is cendre and 6 is chocolate. So -16 is a smoky chocolate shade, or if you want to say that mushroom brown, it's a really beautiful mushroom brown shade. So what is my favorite gray blending formulas? Well, another great question for you to ask. So for gray blending, it depends on, again, what you're looking for. But for gray blending, I love to use a -46. So -46 is here. These are nude tones. And I know some of you are like, number system, and I'm going to talk about the number system. The -4 is beige, which is muted gold. -6 is chocolate. We call these nude tones. These were brought out when nude hair, nude makeup, nude like shirts, shoes were very popular, and that's not going away. This shade right here is one of my favorite shades to add as a low light or to even have as an all over brown color. So if I'm looking for gray blending, one of my favorite formulas would be to take a -46. So let's go a level 6, for instance. 6-46, which is that level 6 beige chocolate nude tone. And I mix that then with 6-00, which is level 6 natural extra. This is what's going to give me my gray coverage. This gives me up to 70% gray coverage. So the -46 is going to give me that fashion shade, and the -00 is then going to add into that like the gray blending that I'm looking for. So that's definitely one of my favorite combinations of colors to use. Another thing that I like to do is create my own natural by mixing a -1, which is cendre or a blue violet, with a -4, which is beige, which is a muted gold. Mixing those two together, a cool and a warm, gives me the most beautiful natural tone. And while our natural is beautiful on its own, I sometimes like to create my own natural tone for my clients and guests so that I've made a custom color for them. So let's see if there's any other questions in the chat box. Right now, I don't see anything on Instagram here. Let me look down just to see. Oh, wait. How much gray coverage can you expect from Vibrance? And that is up to 70% gray blending. But as I mentioned before, you can get on fine hair up to 100% gray coverage. I have seen it with my very own eyes. Even on my own hair, I can get 100% gray coverage because I have a fine texture. Now, let me give you a little tip and trick. I have a couple of my clients that I've switched over from IGORA Permanent Color to Vibrance. Do you want to know the why? With Vibrance, I'm getting that up to 70% gray coverage and at times 100% gray coverage, but I'm not getting lift like I do with a permanent color. How many of you out there have that client that says, every time I get my hair colored, it turns brassy? If that's your client, that every time they go for gray coverage, their hair gets brassy, chances are they probably have a finer hair texture. It could be a lighter formula being used on them than what should be used on them. And if it's a lighter formula, you risk extra lift because permanent has more lifting capability than Demi permanent. So I've switched all of those clients over to Vibrance, and the gray coverage is phenomenal, and it's a cooler end result. They're not gaining the brassiness. So 100%, if you haven't tried that yet, any clients that you risk getting warmth with permanent gray coverage, switch them to Vibrance. All right, so what is the best anti-yellow formula? Great question. So one thing I'll say is anti-yellow, for me, -1 on its own, which is Cendré, it's that blue violet, is the best formula for anti-yellow. So depending on level will depend what you use in the -1, which is that Cendré or blue violet. My biggest recommendation is the back of every book that we have has this color circle. This is going to be your best friend. Jerome put up on the screen the number system along with that color circle for you. This color circle on the outside has every number combination after the dash that we have. This means that if I'm seeing, you said yellow, for instance, I can look on the yellow side of the color circle, come across the color circle, and find something that's going to be anti-yellow, and I can guarantee it's either a -1, which is that blue violet, or it's a -2, which is ash, because sometimes we see more yellow than gold, but that gold can have some orange. So sometimes you need an ash or a blue in there as well. So use this color circle to your advantage so that you know what's going to be best. But in general, my anti-yellow toner that's my favorite is either 9.5-1 if I'm a low level 9, or if I'm that pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow, that 10-1 is chef's kiss. It's just going to knock out any yellow I see and give you this cool blonde result. So best for anti-yellow is a -1, which is that Cendré. What is going on with your freeze thermal spray? That one is in Canada and I don't have an answer for that one, so I apologize. So many questions about Vibrance. What's the difference between a 6 volume and 13 volume? I did give this answer earlier, but for those of you who may not have seen the answer earlier, my 6 volume is going to be great when I'm trying to do refreshing mid-lengths and ends, or if I want to tone the hair. We have 2 different 6 volumes. One is a gel, which makes it super easy for bottle application. I can use my gel, it gives me this great jelly consistency, so I can easily apply with a bottle. The 6 volume lotion is going to give me the same results, however, I can use it in a bowl and brush, so I like to use that for my shadow rooting and low lighting on blondes. Now 13 volume, the only time I use 13 volume is when I'm looking for maximum gray blending, so that's when I want to get that up to 70% gray blending, or for any of my fashion shades. So if I'm looking for this really vibrant red and I'm using a Demi permanent, my 13 volume is going to give me vibrancy in my reds. So that is the difference between 6 volume and 13 volume. So next question is, how important is it to tone the final color after break the bonds can. So with the fiber bond technology, that's going to help to recreate bonds and seal them into the hair. So if the hair has been compromised, I want to use a demi-permanent. A, it's ammonia-free, so it's more gentle on the hair, and B, it has that fiber bond technology that's going to keep the integrity of that hair, make the hair feel better after it's toned than before. So it's going to give you the tone that you're looking for, but it's also going to make the hair feel better and give shine to the hair. So it's very important that you are toning. The only time I use a permanent toner, because you might be like, Amber, sometimes I need a permanent toner, and you're not wrong. Sometimes you do. But the only time I use a permanent toner, there's usually two instances. One, I want to tone my highlights, but shift the natural base as well. So maybe I want a base bump and tone highlights. That I would use a permanent toner for. If the other reason would be maybe I lifted her and when the lightener was on, it was right where I wanted it to be. But then the second I rinsed it off, it was very brassy and very yellow. With a permanent toner, you have the ability to maybe shift that hair color and also tone at the same time, and I might need that. So the only time that I choose a permanent toner versus an ammonia-free is when I'm looking for that additional lift or I want to base bump the hair. So great question there, thank you. Okay, what is the best way to use demi-permanent color? Well, that's a loaded question. To be honest, I feel like I use demi-permanent color more than any other color in the range. Because with our demi-permanent, you know, the most popular usage would be when I'm toning or refreshing mid-lengths and ends. So maybe I've done permanent color on the new growth and I want to refresh mid-lengths and ends with the demi-permanent. But because we can get up to 70% gray blending with Vibrance, honestly, a lot of times Vibrance is the only thing I use. So I might use Vibrance on the new growth and Vibrance on the mid-lengths and ends. I might lift somebody and I need to tone them, I'm going to choose Vibrance. I want a fashion or like a red shade in the hair, I'm going to choose Vibrance. Vibrance is going to be a gentle option for the hair, especially for somebody who's never colored their hair before and they don't want a line of regrowth. Vibrance is going to be my go-to. I'm going to start there. If somebody does not want a line of regrowth, I like to start with using 6 volume because that 6 volume is going to be strictly deposit and it's going to just fade off of the hair and we fade on tone. So what that means is if I've got this beautiful red tone, it's going to shift and slightly become a lighter version of red or a softer copper and eventually maybe have a gold, but it's always a pretty on tone color as it fades. So let's take a look at the next question. What can you mix with your bleach as a toner? That is a great question. So in our Blondie range, we have something called a bleach and tone shade. That is something that you can mix with your lightener to help tone while lifting. Yes, you heard me. It's an additive you can add to your lightener to tone the hair as you're lifting the hair. Now, is it going to be your final toner? Maybe, maybe not. It's going to help give you a better base regardless. So these bleach and tone shades are in the Blondie range. So they are meant to be used with our Blondie lighteners, which we do have 3 different lighteners. Our Blondie 9 Plus is probably the one you all know the most and probably use all the time. But we also have a precision lightener and a clay lightener. And these bleach and tone shades can be added to all of them. So you know how to use them. Your lightener, 1 scoop is approximately 35 grams. All you need of your bleach and tone shade is 1 to 5 grams per scoop of lightener. Easy. So 1 to 5 grams of your bleach and tone shade per scoop of lightener will help to tone while lifting. You may be asking the next question, what bleach and tone shades do you have? Well, we have 3. We have ash, which is going to be a blue base. That's going to be for any yellow that we're seeing. We have violet for levels 8 and above. That's actually going to be for yellow. Your ash is for orange. And then you also have a matte, which is a green or a blue-green. I always say think of your starting level and your ending level. So if I'm starting at a level 4, working my way up to say a level 7, I know I'm going to have some red and some red-orange. So I can add maybe a gram of matte and maybe I add 2 grams of my ash into my bleach and tone shade. And this will help to tone out the unwanted warmth as I'm lifting. Now, in some cases, that might be all you need. As a matter of fact, I did my sister's highlights one day. I added bleach and tone in, and that end result was so good, I didn't need a toner. But there are times where I still want a final tone direction. So for her, it gave me this beautiful kind of cool blonde, which is what I was looking for. But in some instances, if it's still a little bit yellow, it's still a better base to start with and can be your pre-tone. And then I can put my toner of my choice over top of it from our Vibrance range. So great question. Bleach and tone shades, if you have not tried them, it's not a lot of extra money. One tube goes a long ways because it's just 1 to 5 grams per scoop of lightener. It's not a lot. You can always charge your clients for it too. And maybe you do $5 per gram that you add into the lightener. So it's not a lot of extra money, but you're getting your money back on it. When is the best time to use 6 volume versus 13 volume? And I know we talked a lot about the differences between the two, but I'm using a 6 volume when really what I'm looking for is sheer deposit. I'm just looking for deposit. I'm not looking for vibrancy. I'm not looking for gray blending, just deposit. So with toning, if I'm low lighting my blondes especially, if it's the first time that I've ever colored somebody's hair, this is a great opportunity to use the 6 volume. When I maybe want a slight shift to the natural base, or I want that additional gray blending, or I do want to see vibrancy in my reds, that's when I switch over to 13 volume. So next up, let's see, what else do we have? May I tone with permanent instead of Demi permanent? And while I answered that one before, yes, you can tone with permanent, but just remember, you've already lifted that hair and the hair is already compromised. So with a Demi permanent, you have that fiber bond technology, which is going to be even healthier for the hair. All right. Oh, thanks, Sam. Smart lady. I can't answer some of these because, of course, I think Schwarzkopf is the best, and Vibrance, yes, is the best. So let's see. I'm using both because I'm having a hard time covering. Absolutely. Beige blonde. So beige blonde, I'm guessing you're asking what would be a beige blonde or a BB color. And beige in our category is a -4. That is our beige. It's a muted gold. If we think about gold, gold is yellow. If you really want to get down to it, gold is yellow. Now, you can have a prettier gold versus a not so pretty gold. But if we're looking here at the gold, what's going to soften gold? What's going to soften gold is violet. So there's a slight hint of violet in our beige that helps to soften that gold. So for our beige, I would say a -4 could be that. As far as a BB, I can't really say if that's like the letters for something. I don't know what the BB actually looks like. I just know our beige is -4. So I would start there, and maybe a -4/6 even, that nude tone, that beige chocolate could be a good option for that as well. And then I see there was a question about oxidative and non-oxidative dyes. I'm trying to look here. Let's see, our swatch books are available at the local distributor, sold individually or included in intro color orders. So with your swatch book, you can usually get those with an intro order. So if you're brand new to Schwarzkopf and you're working with the distributor can get you an intro deal that will come with the book. If you just need to replace a book and you've been with the company for a long time, you can purchase a brand new swatch book. And I would just talk to your sales rep or your local distributor in order to do that. Distributors are different across the United States, so check with your local distributor. And as far as oxidative and direct dyes that hasn't been answered, I'm trying to find that question here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to answer another one in the meantime. So Vibrance, is it strictly alkaline based as opposed to other acidic brands? Okay. Oh, but I did. Sorry, I'm looking at questions here. I apologize, guys. We're trying to make sure we get everybody's answered. So there was the question about, and I'm just going to re-answer it just in case anybody didn't. So the difference between a direct and an oxidative pigment. So a direct pigment is a large dye molecule that sits on the outside of the hair strand. An oxidative pigment means it needs oxygen to oxidize and blow up that pigment. So it's a much smaller pigment that can go inside the hair strand. It needs an oxygen to blow it up so that it stays within that hair strand. With Vibrance, we have a combination of direct and oxidative dyes, and that would be oxidative and non-oxidative is the term for that. So a non-oxidative is a direct dye that is that larger color molecule. When we're seeing that in Chroma ID, this comes out the color it's going to turn out. You see that direct dye in this color. This does not need to be mixed with an activator or a developer. This gets put straight on the hair and will tone the hair on the outside of the hair strand. It's not going into the hair strand. With Vibrance, we have a combination of some direct dyes that sit on the outside or non-oxidative, and then we have oxidative dyes. Oxidative means that I need an oxygen, aka either a developer or an activator to activate that dye. So with an alkaline-based color, Demi color, it's going to swell open that cuticle that allows that oxidative dye to go inside the hair strand, and with that oxygen, it blows up that color balloon inside the hair strand to color the hair from the inside out. So that's an oxidative dye. Again, we have both within Vibrance. Now, there was another question about, is Vibrance just an alkaline base? Vibrance is just an alkaline base. You might be asking yourself, okay, but like, I know some other brands are acidic only. What if I'm looking for something that isn't alkaline based? What if I need a toner in Schwarzkopf that is not alkaline? We have toners in our Blonde Me range. The toners in Blonde Me, the biggest difference between our Blonde Me toners and Vibrance toners is that our Blonde Me toners are pH neutral. Now, Jerome's going to pull up the pH scale for you, because sometimes I think we hear pH and we think we know what that means, but we don't always know. So on this pH scale, 7 is neutral. Typically, if you have good water, the 7 is your neutral, like that is water, that is neutral. Anything that is an alkaline base is above a 7. Anything that's an acidic base is going to be below a 7. Now, when it comes to the hair cuticle, anything that's alkaline is going to open up the hair cuticle. Anything acidic is going to lay that cuticle down. And so that's why you'll notice a lot of your shampoos are pH 4.5. We're trying to lay that cuticle back down. And I know I mentioned that Vibrance is an alkaline base, but sometimes we need that alkalinity in order to get the direct dye where it needs to go, or get that not direct dye, but oxidative dye where it needs to go in the hair color, rather than just masking the outside of the hair strand. Everything in a lot of, anytime you see an acidic line, it means it sits below that neutral, so below 7, and that's going to close that cuticle, but that means the color's only sitting on the outside of the hair strand, and it may not last as long. If you have an alkaline base that slightly is alkaline, it's going to open that cuticle just enough to allow that color to go in, but then at the end, we're using a conditioner, a shampoo and a conditioner that has that pH neutral that's going to take that down. Our toners in Blonde Me are pH neutral. The biggest difference between an acidic or a pH neutral and an alkaline base is the ability to shift the natural color of the hair. That's the biggest difference. The technology in Blonde Me toners, very similar to the technology that's in Vibrance. The technology in Vibrance is called Aquasil. Aquasil is a combination of vitamins B3 and B5. Those vitamins crystallize in combination with the sugar on the outside of that hair strand. Doing what? Closing that outer cuticle layer and really trapping in moisture on the inside of that hair, giving extreme shine and moisture to the hair, which is why if you've used Vibrance, you notice the hair actually feels better after it's colored. Well, guess what, guys? That same technology is named different, but it's also in our Blonde Me toners. The only difference between Blonde Me toners and Vibrance toners is Blonde Me toners are pH neutral. That means I'm not going to shift the natural base of that hair color. So if you're somebody who's like, I need to have something other than an alkaline-based demi-permanent, we have a range of toners and deep toners within our Blonde Me range that you can utilize as your pH neutral toners. And that's going to give you the same capabilities as an acidic demi-permanent line. So for those of you that were wondering and want to have that as an option, that is definitely an option. So let's see. All right, so it's Vibrance alkaline based. I think we answered that. Yes, it is. Trying to see if we have a couple other here. How do you locate your local distributor? If you're buying a hair color, you should know who your distributor is. It's a matter of if you have a sales rep or not. And then what are the safeties? Vibrant bleach on hair, variant bleach, Vario. I'm assuming that's Vario bleach. So we have lighteners. We have Blondie lighteners, and we also have Vario blonde lighteners. So if you are familiar with Blondie 9 Plus, which you probably are, this is our #1 selling lightener at all distributors. This sells more than anything. But I will tell you, Blondie 9 Plus is my workhorse. It's when I need the up to 9 levels of lift. This is when I'm going from black to platinum blonde. If I just want caramel highlights, too much. That's too much for me. I don't need that much power. Or for me, I'm naturally a level 7, like a high level 7, and I have fine hair. Blondie 9 Plus is not necessary for my hair. My money piece is done with a high lift. And I even use a level 9 and a level 10 mixed together for my money piece. I don't use lightener at all. So that lightener might be too much for some people, and that's where Vario Blonde comes in. Now in Vario Blonde, we have 2 options. We have Vario Blonde Plus and Vario Blonde Super Plus. The Vario Blonde Plus is actually a blue powder. That blue powder is just to mask the yellow as it's lifting. It does have an anti-yellow technology to it, but that is not why it's blue. But this is a great lightener for on or off scalp lightening. You can highlight with this, you can balayage with it, and it's gonna give you up to 7 levels of lift, and I call it my Volvo. It's gonna get me where I need to go, but it's gonna get me there gently and slowly, so I can do caramel highlights, or somebody's hair that does lift very quickly, this might be my go-to. My Vario Blonde Super Plus, 1 extra level of lift. So this one gets up to 8 levels of lift versus 7. And this one is a white powder. This is good because I can definitely see, oopsies, wrong way. I can definitely see as it's lifting what that color is. So with the white powder, I can definitely see if it's yellow, it's going to show up yellow. So I don't have to wipe the lightener off to see that. So it's just 1 extra level of lift, but it's just like my Vario Blonde Plus, it's a Volvo. It's gonna get me where I need to go, but it's gonna get me gently and slowly. They both work about the same. I would say in most salons, half the people like Super Plus and half the people like Plus. So it's gonna be up to you. Either way, these are super easy to use. It's 1 part powder liner to 2 parts of your Agora Real Developer, either 10 volume or 20 volume for on scalp and up to 30 volume for off scalp. So if you have not tried these lighteners yet, they are great as my everyday lightener. And my Blondie 9 Plus is my workhorse when I really need that Ferrari. I need something to get me from black to platinum blonde. I need it to work super quick. That's when Blondie 9 Plus comes in. So I think that was the question on the Vario bleach. So hopefully we got that one in there. And let's see if we can find more. The one, I think I answered this before too, but we're just gonna talk about it. Do we sell our swatch books? And we do. So you may check with your local distributor and they can get one for you. You are able to just purchase a swatch book, but you can also get it in an intro order if you've never used Schwarzkopf before. We have intro orders that come with the swatch book, so definitely check with your local distributor. All right, let's see. What is the 9.5 series used for? All right, guys. A lot of times we see 9.5 and we don't understand it. You think it just means level 9.5. That's not what it means. It was our only toner for the longest time. 9.5 is actually going to be a toner, a pastel toner. Now, we pulled up this sheet for you to see the numbers after the dash. The number before the dash is levels 1 through level 10, but 9.5 confuses people. You might see it written as 9.5, you might see 9,5, they're the same thing. It means it's more translucent pigment weight to tone on a level 9 or above. If you are not a level 9, you won't see a difference. I have had a stylist tell me before, oh, I used your 9.5 toner and it didn't do anything. Well, it's probably because it wasn't enough pigment weight. That 9.5 toner is meant to be put on a level 9 or above. If it's put on a level 8 or if it's a very low level 9, it may not be enough pigment weight. I might need to truly go down to a level 9. So the 9.5 series is actually a toner. But you might be like, but Amber, you guys have level 10 toners. Why do I need to have 9.5 and level 10? Well, little story, 9.5 series toners were the only toners we had for the longest time. What was happening is people were using them, and while they loved them, they did exactly what they needed to do. Sometimes it was more pigment weight than they wanted. We're noticing a new trend in blonding, and that trend is like a barely there toner. The 9.5 series is a little more than a barely there toner. It's a little more pigment weight. So what we found is people were taking 9.5-1, for instance, which is that cendré or blue violet, and that was that anti-yellow. It's our #1 selling toner. But they were mixing it equal parts with our clear 0-00 to sheer it out. So what we decided instead of, sorry, that was the actual 0-00, what we decided is why not make level 10 toners? So a level 10 toner in Vibrance is the same thing as if I took a 9.5 series and mixed it equal parts with clear. That is a level 10 toner. So level 10 toner is just more sheer pigment weight. A little pro tip. I know almost all of you on this right now have done a bleach and tone. And bleach and tone can be scary because the ends are super porous and they like to grab the pigment and get really deep or an unwanted tone. But then the new growth can be so yellow, so much more yellow than the mids and ends and not as porous, just healthier hair. And I can use that same toner on the new growth and it does hardly anything. My biggest pro tip for you on a bleach and tone, use a 9.5 series toner for the new growth. That new growth is healthier hair. It's usually going to be slightly less porous and that hair is going to take the toner less than the mids and ends. So I like to use a 9.5 series toner on the new growth and a level 10 toner for the mid lengths and ends because the level 10 toner is more sheer. So I'm going to get more sheer pigment weight from that. So then I get the extra pigment I need on the yellow base, and then on the mids and ends, I get that level 10 toner that is this beautiful chef's kiss toner for mid lengths and ends. Again, pro tip, apply any bleach and tone to 80% dry hair. Anytime you put a toner on wet hair, you're diluting that toner a little bit. So always remember, if it's a bleach and tone, I like to make sure the hair is at least 80% dry before applying for those best results and let it sit that full 20 minutes, just like every company recommends for their toners. Just some people like to flash tone, that is all. All right, so it looks like we got people appreciative of the time, thank you. Repeat my naturals formula. So earlier I was talking about one of my favorite gray blending formulas in the natural series. So when we're talking about gray blending, the most important thing that you need to know for gray blending is that 1/3 of your formula needs to be a -00, which is a natural extra. So the formula I was talking about is taking 6-46, which is a level 6 beige chocolate, and mixing that with a 6-00 to get the gray blending. Now 6-46 is that beige chocolate. It's this really pretty nude tone. It has like a little bit of warmth, but it's got the richness with the chocolate that's in there. I love using these as lowlights in my blondes because it's got just enough warmth that it acts almost like a filler for the hair, but leaves a really beautiful end result. So love using those for that. Now the key to getting my up to 70% gray blending is only 1/3 of my formula needs to be a -00 to achieve 70% gray blending. So the 7-00 that I would add into that formula is just there for the gray coverage. It's not because I need neutral extra or I want to see natural extra. Natural extra on its own, to be honest, I don't use much on its own because it's extra pigment weight. Natural extra isn't the prettiest color on its own. Mixed with other things, it's gorgeous, it's perfect, it's what I want it to be. If I want a true just neutral natural, I'm going to use just a straight up -0. I'm not using -00 until I'm mixing it in for gray coverage. All right, so I have a question. We're going back to lighteners again. All right, I love these lightener questions because I did mention that we had multiple Blonde Me lighteners. So this question here is, what is the difference between Precision Lightener and Blonde Me 9+? Now first, guys, I want to let you know that it's kind of hard sometimes to tell the difference between the lighteners, but I'm going to tell you what to look for. On the top of each container, you'll see this little line. This one is white. This line is purple. That indicates what it is. So my Precision Lightener has this purple line. My Blondie 9 Plus actually has a gold line, and it's the only one that has the XXL. So they look very similar, so don't grab the wrong one. But first difference you'll notice with our Precision Lightener is that it is a white powder. So a Precision Lightener is a white powder, whereas Blondie 9 Plus is a blue powder. So they're going to look different. So I'll know immediately when I open that the Precision Lightener is going to have that powder, that different color. Now, the biggest difference is Precision Lightener is meant for precise applications. What I mean by that, when you're doing a bleach and tone, say you overlap on that hair color on the new growth, and then the area where the two meet, the hair becomes very weak. A lot of times lightener can expand slightly, especially with the addition of heat. Whereas Precision Lightener is precise, it's going to stay right where I put it, it's not going to expand over the line. So I can truly bring Precision Lightener all the way out to that line. This was meant for those precise on-scalp lightening occasions. Now, what you should know is there's only up to 7 levels of lift with Precision Lightener, whereas my Blondie 9 Plus is up to 9 levels of lift. So this is going to be a more gentle lightener than my 9 Plus. So I like to say if my client is a level 5 or above for on-scalp lightening, the Precision Lightener is amazing. It also has something in it called temperature balancing complex. In English, that means a cooling sensation for the scalp. So it's going to be a more pleasant experience for on-scalp lightening. Now, don't sit here and think, oh, I can only use Precision Lightener on scalp. Well, I don't know if I really need that. No. You know how else I love to use Precision Lightener? How many of you have that client that does highlights and you have to bring those highlights all the way up to the scalp, but then the lightener bleeds out of the foil and then you have a line? This is my go-to to use in foils where I need to be precise with my foils as well. With foils, you can get 1 extra level of lift with the Precision Lightener as well. Precision Lightener is meant to be mixed with your Blonde Me developer, either 7 volume or 20 volume. You don't need more than that. I usually use 20 volume. Unless I'm foiling, I might start with 7 volume in the back, work my way up to 20 in the front. So again, your biggest difference, Blonde Me 9 Plus is a blue powder, Precision Lightener is a white powder. Blonde Me 9 Plus is going to work very quickly, Precision is going to work a little slower. Blonde Me 9 Plus I can use for anything, Precision Lightener for those very precise applications where I am looking to not have that lightener expand outside of the foil or outside of where I put it. So it's going to be for those precise applications. I do find there is a need for it in the salon because, again, so much different than Blonde Me 9 Plus, but just know it does work slower. So if you see Blonde Me, don't think it's going to work super fast like the 9 Plus. It is a little bit different. So let's take a look, see if we can find some more. Love my additives. The additives are a game changer. I agree with you. What's your most popular blonde toned for cool blondes? You're switching from another brand. That is an excellent question. So when we're talking about toning for those cooler blondes, 9.5-1 is ultimately my go-to for a cool blonde, or a 10-1, which is that cendre. But that's just a cool blonde. That means I don't want to see warmth, but I don't want it to be silvery or gray. Now, if you're looking for something that has almost a hint of that silvery tone, I have a different formula. So 10-1 too, it's that level 10 toner, so it needs to be that pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow. If you are not that light, you will not see a difference with this. But if you are that pale yellow, that 10-1 too gives you this really cool blonde that has almost this tiniest little hint of a silver to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, 9.5-1, again, popular toner, but if I'm seeing a lot of yellow, I think an underutilized shade is 9.5-19. That's that Cendre Violet. That violet, if we think of the color wheel again, violet sits across from yellow. It's going to neutralize yellow. So if I have a lot of yellow left in the hair, I like to take 9.5-19 and mix it with my 9.5-1. 9.5 means toner. It is that sheer pigment weights. The -1 is that Cendre, which is blue violet. It's just that the 19 has that blue violet extra. So even though on this swatch it looks kind of that lilac-y color, unless you put this on porous hair, it's not going to look that way. This will get rid of the yellow if you have a lot of yellow and give you this nice cool blonde. So I love mixing the Dash 19 into a formula. Another one, and I know we were talking about cool formulas here, and this one's gonna have a slight bit of warmth, but another underutilized color is 9.5-49. Again, 9.5 means toner, so my toner -49 is beige violet. So that beige is that muted gold. So I'm gonna have that tiniest little bit of warmth, but that violet that's in here is gonna kick out the yellow and leave you the most beautiful beige tone. So if you're looking for an amazing beige toner that will not have any yellow, the 9.5-49 is amazing. All right, so I see we have a question. All right, so there's a question that somebody is having a hard time achieving gray coverage. I'll explain gray coverage versus gray blending. So when we talk about gray coverage, we're talking 100% gray coverage. So that means that 100% of the hair is going to be covered. I like to talk in terms when it comes to permanent color on lift and deposit. So when we're talking about Agora Real and I want 100% gray coverage, I'm going to lift the natural hair maybe a little bit if needed, but I'm also depositing 100% on that gray hair. So that end result ends up being this solid all over one color. So for instance, you know, if I'm doing this chocolate color all over, that chocolate color is going to be the same everywhere, very uniform. When we're talking gray blending, I'm not shifting the natural base of that hair. I'm literally just depositing on the gray, but not as much as what I'm depositing with a permanent. So what that means is I see the natural highs and lows in that hair. And if you think back to when you were a child, or if you have children at home and you look at their hair color, even if they're brunette, is every strand of hair the same color? Probably not. So gray blending has become actually more popular than 100% gray coverage, because gray coverage is going to create that uniform all over one color. And for somebody who definitely doesn't want to see any difference, that is what you need. I need Agora Real. When I'm talking gray blending, I'm going to have that little bit of difference where some of the pieces might be a little bit lighter and some might be a little bit darker. So I'm getting that variation that looks more natural, like your hair did when you were a child. So hopefully that helps with that. As far as gray coverage goes, in all of our ranges, the formula to achieve the maximum gray coverage in every line is 2/3 of your formula is a fashion shade. Only 1/3 needs to be a natural for 100% gray coverage. So for example, if I had this copper shade and I needed gray coverage, I'm 50% white, I could take 7-77, which is my level 7 copper extra. I could mix 30 grams of 7-77, and then I would need 20 grams of anything in my permanent range that creates 100% gray coverage. So that could be -0, which is my natural. It could be -00 if I have coarse resistant white hair, I might need that extra pigment weight. In Agora Real, that means I could use my Sandra, which is blue violet, and soften it, or use -4, which is beige. But either way, 2/3 of my formula is going to be my fashion shade, and only 1/3 needs to be a natural. Across all of our ranges, that's your formula to achieve 100% gray coverage, or in Vibrance up to 70% gray blending. And there is, if we missed any of your questions, guys, just know that we are going to be doing these Ask Me Anythings pretty much weekly through the end of the year. So just continue to think of what questions you guys might have. I know we only have 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna see if we can find a couple of other questions that I can answer, but just start thinking about what would you wanna ask me, because our next date is gonna be August 5th. Then we have another one August 14th, August 19th, August 26th. I will be doing all of them. So continue to think of what your questions are. You can also go on Instagram and DM us and let us know what your questions are that we can answer for future. But you guys have been so phenomenal today and asked so many questions. I'm so excited that we got so much response from here. So let me see if I can answer a couple more. So can you mix Agora and Blonde Me developers? Ooh. I understand that sometimes we run out of a developer and we want to use something else. I'm going to sit here and say from Schwarzkopf perspective, all of everything that we have has been tested. Like a Blonde Me developer is meant to work with our Blondie range, there's more carrot ingredients. So we don't recommend mixing Agora developers with Blondie developers for that reason. We only test Blondie developers with Blondie lighteners and Blondie colors, and they're meant to work with that. And they have a technology that works well and has a conditioning agent for blondes to really help. With our Agora developers, while we have an oil still in our Agora developers, there's not as many conditioning agents because it's not as necessary for everyday coloring. So they are two different formulas, so we do not recommend mixing Agora developers with Blondie developers. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say a lot of you have probably done it before and it probably has worked. But for best results, we recommend using Agora developers with Agora color and Blondie developers with Blondie color. So hopefully that helps that. And then 30 volume, okay. This is an interesting question. So with Vibrance, can I use 30 volume? And my answer to that is no. And the reason I say that is, again, our developers are made to work. And in Vibrance, we have activators, not developers. Yes, I have an alkaline base with Vibrance, but the reason to use Vibrance is mainly for deposit or for gray blending. If I'm using 30 volume with Agora Real, that usually means I want to create some lift. There's no reason to use 30 volume with Vibrance. If you're using 30 volume, chances are you probably just need to switch over to a permanent hair color and not be using a Demi permanent at that point. The other thing you have to bear in mind, if I'm doing a toner, whether that's a 9.5 series or a level 10 toner, those pigments are very sheer. And 30 volume could be just enough, especially for a level 10 toner, to eat that pigment, and you're not really getting that result. So in general, we do not recommend using 30 volume Agora Real developers with our Demi permanent. But if you have more questions about that, feel free to type them into the chat box. And then one last question we'll take, and then we'll wrap this up. What is your favorite chocolate brown formula? That is a great question, because I probably have several that I love. But in our chocolates, we have a few different chocolates. We have a -6, which is our regular chocolate. We have a -6/8 chocolate red. Now, obviously, I have red hair, so you can only imagine that I might be drawn a little bit to the -6/8. So if you have not tried -6/8 yet, it is that chocolate red. So when we look at this swatch here, it's like a cherry cola. When I get a cherry cola, it's this beautiful chocolate shade with this little bit of red reflection. So I love this on its own, especially at a level 4 or a level 5. I feel like it gives this amazing rich shade. But I also think that any of the chocolates that we have are amazing. So if you're asking for a formula itself, I would say I like to mix my chocolate and I like to play around with it. So if you haven't played around with it, if you haven't done a chocolate gold before, I like to mix my chocolate with my gold. If we think of chocolate, our chocolate is a warm brown, and warm to some people can feel coppery, but a gold is a yellow reflection. So sometimes I like to take my chocolate and my gold and mix these together to create my own chocolate gold, or mix it with a natural and soften it just a little bit. But it doesn't matter what chocolate you use, all of them are amazing. And I would say my biggest go-to when I'm not looking for red is, again, that -6/3. It's that chocolate matte. That red is something a lot of people don't want to see. They want this really rich chocolate brown, but they don't want to see red, and -6 is going to get you there. It's that chocolate, but that green is going to kick out the unwanted red. So we've got 1 minute to go, so I just want to wrap this up. Again, we are going to be doing these weekly, minus next week. We will be doing them weekly through the end of the year. You guys have been phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see what other questions you have for me. Our next one is going to be August 5th, so please join us on all of our platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Join us and ask us any more questions that you may have. I hope this has been impactful. If you have something you would like to see, if you're like, hey, can we bring someone in, or hey, I'd like to hear about this, please DM us and let us know what you would like to see for the future. Ask me anything. So thank you guys. I hope to see you soon. Have a great rest.